Welcome back to the Anachroschism. When we left off last time, some major things had happened, but now we set off on a sort of 2-week montage of sorts, where there's training regimens and 80s music, and I just rewatched all of Rocky 1 through 4, so I mean we're on separate nights, but it turns out it makes for great background stuff, because I was playing Fire Emblem and I'm like, I want to watch something, so I've seen them before. Put them on in the background. Pay attention to the cool parts. So we're going to do something similar like that with the party, although there's going to be some different spots. Some of them are going to take longer than others. Some of them will be more fleshed out. Some of them might be kind of hand-woven away, depending on time constraints and what we're looking at. So we had a vague plan at the end of last episode, which was essentially Testian wanting to remain in Waychester for a couple of different pursuits, one about his own spellcasting, one about some more information about ley lines and some other things going on that may be magically connected, and the rest of the party was going to go make a couple other stops potentially, perhaps Timberbrook for some Karash time, perhaps Fallstock for some Whitwer time. So, we'll start with the 3 of them, because 3 is greater than 1. Take that, Tessian. He knew it was coming. We discussed it before the show started. I don't want
Why you gotta blow me up like that on screen?
Because I think it's more fun to be transparent. That's why. So Isaac and Lena and Karash, we're all just going to kind of assume that this is next day stuff with a fresh start, full spell slots, HP, and the like. Basically, once you guys kind of coordinated and got done with your conversation with the Empress, you had a chance to rest up one more night at the inn, etc. So, the following morning, it seems like you guys would like to head to Timberbrook first, yes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Teleporting.
Yeah.
It should be noted that because of your cooperation with the Empress, they're fine with you going to and from Timberbrook. Other locations, not necessarily so much, with the exception of Fallstock, because you also have official business there. But they're fine with you utilizing the teleportation circle to Timberbrook, because you could be going there to check out the house. They don't really know or care. They're content with your allegiance to the Empress at this point. So, you guys make your way back to Abarrow Castle, check in at the front desk, not officially check in, just tell them, like, hey, we're here, we need to use the circle. They grant you access, send you through. You wind your way through the serpentine-like chambers and hallways back to the teleportation hub, and can make your way through one to Timberbrook if you are so inclined. I'm assuming all 3 of you are on board?
Alrighty.
I mean,
Yeah, this
can
is
we
this.
get on board circles.
This happened off air, but when Karash expressed his interest in following up those leads that we missed, Isaac was 100% on board because it was pretty much his fault. So he's down for this side adventure for sure, as a way to make up for lost time.
Okay. So, it doesn't take too long, familiar stomach drop, etc. Vision clears, and you are once again in the somewhat strange basement of House Dryden, with the familiar-looking setup as before. At this point, there does appear to be just one person on the other side standing guard and allowing for teleporting. He explains to you that essentially there are occasionally other people coming through just to keep an eye on the house, but that they've severely reduced their presence there with Faust out of play, essentially, and because it is a private residence and they don't really want to be messing with the hornet's nest that is Connor and Alexa. But there is essentially another person there who can help you go to and from if necessary. Unless you have any other questions you would like to ask them.
Which way to the sawmill?
And this person has no idea. They don't live in Timberbrook. They're on assignment from the capital.
Well, they're useless to me.
Yeah, I can see how that would be.
Karash says as much. And
Yeah. And the Alabaster Cabal guardsman attacks you for your impudence. And this session shapes very differently than I had expected just 3 minutes ago.
Now, Karash has blood on his hands, and we're on the run.
Exactly. Once again, fleeing Timberbrook post-haste. Sorry, Dragonborn, we'll catch you someday!
My bad.
Anything you want to do in the house as you make your way out of the basement, or are you just heading into town?
That happy ball of orb joy. No, I do not want to mess with that. I am but a wee paladin.
A wee baby paladin. A wee bairn.
Just wait until I'm level 20 and then I'll still ignore it.
I have a feeling that won't be the case. I mean, what? You guys make your way back into Timberbrook proper. It's fine. City seems much the same as you left it a few days ago, although it feels like longer. You managed to pack a whole hell of a lot in what has effectively been 4 days since you were last here. But even so, friendly people on the streets, beautiful temperature in the town, plenty of shade from all the trees in the area and whatnot, but also just nice weather in general this time of year. And again, you know that there's been a seismic change as far as the leadership of this city, but the day-to-day run-of-the-mill folks seem to be going about their daily lives just as they were before you guys, basically ripped out the seat of power. So if you didn't know any better, you would think things were just as you left them 4 days ago, but obviously that's not the case.
But they seem stable, right? There's no rioting or anything crazy.
No, and because you're sort of familiar with this, but hell, all three of you kind of know it at this point, Faust isn't exactly around all the time. Him being gone for a few days without explanation wouldn't even seem out of the ordinary to folks. It doesn't seem like anybody has any idea. You're not hearing about it whispered on the street as you hear folks in conversation as you pass by them. But at this point, it's also not been enough time where anybody would go, God, we haven't seen Faust in a while. Where's he at? He was just gone for a few days on a trip as it was anyways. People may have seen him as he came back through town that day. But for the most part, yeah, the social order seems unchanged, and it's going to either take more time or news apparently getting out about it to change that status quo.
Lena, I might need to talk to the Empress when we get back about circulating the news on this. It's a pretty big deal. And getting society, getting them the knowledge of what's happening, I think would work to our favor.
It could, now that we successfully apprehended him.
Yeah, there's no risk of blowing the operation anymore. I'm surprised there's not more news about it.
It does seem a little quiet, doesn't it?
Karash, do you know where we're headed?
The sawmill.
You do know that I know where the sawmill is, right?
I would have probably pieced that one together, yeah.
Okay. And I say, well, let's head this way, trusting that Chris knows that, I don't know.
Yeah.
That I actually do know where it is.
Right.
There's a gaping hole in your memory for some reason.
You never left the house.
Yeah.
Oh.
The sawmill was built in the last 2 weeks. It was not there when you lived here.
And that's when Lena wakes up and this was all a dream.
Oh,
Don't ruin my ending of the entire show.
It hurts.
20 levels.
Yeah, the Conatus is basically Link's Awakening. Karash can be the windfish. Because you're fat and bloated.
I am big boned.
Those are hurtful words, I know. It's easy enough for you guys with Isaac's expert direction to make your way to the south part of the city where the sawmill is located. Basically on the outskirts of the city. It's still within the limits proper, but it's also right at the edge to where it has access to all those trees that exist just south of the city and on the other sides as well. But the most densely packed part of the forest is to the south, which is why the sawmill was built there years and years and years ago. And this is where, I wish... one of the checks I miss from 4th edition is streetwise.
Investigation with charisma can be a good.
Yeah, I was gonna have you guys make charisma checks as you presumably start to ask around for the 2 Dragonborn that supposedly work here, whose names I had up 10 seconds ago. And
straight charisma or persuasion?
I don't care. Make either one.
I did charisma. 13.
a 9 charisma.
No charisma.
My charisma is very bad. -1.
Ouch.
I am not
19.
charming at all.
Asking about Arvroth and Royak. There they are.
Arvrath and Royak. We got names now?
Yeah. I think the two people that you talked to when you were eating and Isaac was off blowing everyone's cover mentioned at least one of them by name for sure because they were familiar with them. I think they might have mentioned both though. They were friends.
honest,
They were friends with
I don't-
one of them. I want to say Royak was the one. Like they actually had worked with him closely and had like a awareness of who they were. They knew the other person by like name and happenstance, but weren't close. So 19, 13, and 9 is what I heard. Yes.
Yes.
Correct.
So as you kind of start asking around the sawmill, people hard at work. It's essentially exactly what you would expect. Not to hand wave away the description, but there are large blades cleaving through wood for different purposes, reducing them in size either for transport or for distribution across the city. The vibe here is a positive one overall. For the most part, even though it is manual labor, people seem to enjoy what they do here. They also recognize that Timberbrook is the hub of wood distribution for basically all of Aramea. There are other forests and the like, but some of the other forests, like, say, Lena's home, are not fit for logging operations. So
No.
you have to get them from some place that's willing to cut them down, distribute them, and then replant them. And that's easy to do here. You also just remember from past conversation that, in general, people make good livings doing this, that they're generally happy living in the city and doing what they do, and that a lot of people have actually stayed here long-term because they enjoy the line of work and have made a decent living for themselves doing this here. As you kind of ask various employees without trying to be too intrusive, just to see about the two in particular, one of the workers says, "Oh yeah, they're both here today, and we can have them meet you on a lunch break if that works for you. Is there a place we want to have them find you, or are you going to stay here for another couple hours till we hit lunch?"
I do not know the town well, Isaac. Is there a place nearby that would be suitable?
I'm sure. What are you in the mood for? Like a tavern? Get a drink while I pass the time? It's a little early in the day.
I do not care.
All right, sure. Well, there should be a place close enough.
So the closest place is a
A Subway.
yeah, it's a Blimpie. Remember Blimpies?
I was looking for a Five Guys.
Yeah, I know. There is a brothel on the southwest side of the city near both the mines and the sawmills, essentially, since the mines are to the southwest, called the Open Door.
A brothel.
It was the location mentioned on the note that you were slipped at the train station the last time you were here.
Ooh.
Oh my.
Um,
Well, that's too enticing not to go now.
I was going to say, it doesn't have to shape your decision, but I will point out it is one and the same. The other biggest place that's more restaurant-like is the Flask and Sword. It's where you stayed for your... Well, you didn't even stay. You set up arrangements to stay and then didn't even stay the one evening, left before that evening came to pass. But it's another place you are familiar with. It's not too far, maybe 10 minutes or so from here.
Does the brothel have a bar?
Yes.
Game on!
Yes, it does. Plenty of libations of various sorts.
Come on, Lena, we're gonna get you late.
Teskin's not even there. Teskin's not even there, and you're being dragged to a brothel. Like, it's not even me.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, but make no mistake, Koresh is not comfortable with any of this either. Like,
No.
Tessian is the reason this brothel exists.
of course he is.
Not in character, but I put this here because I was like, well, Tessian likes these type of locations. He haven't seen one in a few towns, and this is a big enough city where there's a lot of disposable income. But
And love is an open door.
yeah, open door.
Oh.
Open door is spelled D''HORE for the record.
Oh God.
Oh,
Oh,
nice.
no.
Open the whore.
Open door. So you guys make your way to the open door. Inside, the scene is relatively quiet, and you're quickly able to kind of put two and two together as to why business is likely to pick up when the nearby workplaces, both the mines and the sawmills, go to lunch break. But as of right now, other than a few individuals in town who either might be off for the day or just reckless and irresponsible with their mornings, or living their best life, depends on your perspective. We don't judge. It's 10 in the morning, and the brothel is not the most frequented place in town at this particular time of day. Even so, the vibe that you get overall is lively. There are no dancers currently on the stage because, again, there's just a handful of patrons, and it would be almost depressing to be performing for a group that is either way hungover from last night or just getting started on today.
I didn't say it was a nice place. I said it was close.
Yes. And it's also not like a dive. It's not shoddy, but it's not upscale either. The Flaskin store was actually a pretty nice establishment overall. This is run of the mill. It's fine. It's not dirty, but it's not fancy either. There is a pretty well stocked bar that you can see easily as you walk in, and a young looking, at least, it's always hard to tell with elves, but a young looking elvish woman tending bar as you guys walk in.
I'm trying to hide behind... Okay, you're both taller than me, so that's good. I'm going to try and just, hide behind Isaac and just, turtle a little bit. I don't look like I want to be here, really.
Okay.
I do mumble to myself, I didn't think I'd be back here, or back in one of these anytime
Speak for
soon.
yourself. Do you really think the presumed dead son of Faust Dryden wants to be seen in the brothel where the place he grew up?
I suppose
So
not.
we're both not very comfortable right now.
Should go to high school with some of these girls, Sean? What's the deal?
Oh, it's extra awkward.
And they have kids.
Oh, yeah. They're Facebook friends.
Sure.
I would be lying if I said I didn't know some of these people, so just avert your gaze, just
Okay.
look at the bar. Just do as I do.
Okay.
We're mostly sitting eyes down at the bar.
Yeah.
I will order beer and then proceed to make small talk because we got to kill 2 hours or whatever the hell it is.
Yeah.
Now,
sure.
the hooded figure was we knew it was a dwarf, right? Oh, we didn't know anything about it.
Nope. They were small in stature.
Oh.
Dwarf, gnome, child.
It's not even enough to, even start to ask about
Yeah.
a figure like
vague.
that being here. Well, we
We'd like to talk to your shortest employee.
exactly. Excuse me, bartender. Round of drinks, please. And I wanted to pick your brain. Have you seen anyone here in this establishment recently? Smaller in stature, wearing a hood of I don't know whatever color it was. I thought it was beige, but I could be totally making that up. It's like a brown. Regular.
Yeah, what was it? Crash and I both saw it, right? And Tessian, I think it was the 3 of us that were there for that.
I think Tessian did not. He was off buying the train tickets at the time.
Oh.
Karash definitely had the best look at it because he was the one that they bumped into and passed the note. It was, if I'm not mistaken, a kind of brown hooded overcoat or something of the like, where it covered pretty much all of their physical form. Nothing that's super distinct. Nothing really that stands out as far as this was the distinguishing characteristic. But you also didn't have exactly a long time to look at them. The ones who even did. Of course, have I given it away by saying him?
No.
And this wouldn't even be the first time someone's requested the shortest employee, so that's nice. Anyways, get all the brothel jokes out of our system.
Do they have a posted rules anywhere inside the brothel, like an open door policy?
Oh dear.
I like
Well,
where your
ladies
head's
and
at.
gentlemen, that's been Anachroschism for today.
Yeah, this is just the pun episode. There's nothing else happening. No notable story beats. I actually liked it. I didn't want to show that I did, but I did. I did.
It was pretty funny.
It's not bad. The bartender introduces herself over the course of your kind of small talk as Zerna. And, sorry, one sec. In response to your kind of inquiry about potentially small employees, she sort of scratches her head. She says, I don't know that it rings a bell. I don't know if anybody here really wears a hood, but there are certainly times when more clandestine meetings are held here. It's a little more off the beaten path. At its busiest, we have lots of people in here. It gets a little rowdy, a little noisy, so it's easy to kind of have a conversation off to the side where you won't be overheard. I don't know if anybody in particular that might have bumped into you like that.
So no one, I'll say the date that we were supposed to meet. No one on this day wearing a hood, alone, seemingly waiting for individuals who never came.
She says, I can't say it rings a bell, but there's so many people that come and go from this place that I couldn't say for certain.
All right. Well, thank you for your time.
And she, sets up your drinks. It'll cost you 2 gold for whomever. Their money bags is not here, so you have to figure that one out.
Yeah.
I have money. I'll pay.
I have gold.
You probably have less gold than you think, although you haven't actually formed your weapon yet, but just as a heads up, your disposable income is going to be mostly gone.
Because
of the thing that we haven't actually...
Yeah. So, I mean, you would know that you're intending to do that, so don't... 2 gold's not going to kill you by any means, but just so you know, don't go blowing a bunch of money, because you're going to need it here whenever we actually build that rifle.
Okay.
So, anyways... It'd be funny if the 2 gold stopped you, though. Oh, sorry. You bought drinks. No God for you.
We're just going to have water.
I'll take your cheapest ale, please. I don't even care if it's been distilled. Just give it to me.
Tell you what, go find the drunkest person in the bar, have them sneeze into a glass of water, and I'll drink that.
Oh, God.
That's some sadism stuff. I like that.
Some flavor.
You guys kind of spend the better part of an hour conversing amongst yourselves with the bartender to some extent. She answers your questions best she can. But for the most part, Isaac knows more about the city than she does, so she's not exactly going to be like, hey, so what's the hot spot in Timberbrook kind of conversation. And eventually what you start to see as you get nearer to noon is business picks up, as both she mentioned and as you would also just anticipate, because all sorts of folk in relatively commoner attire, which is to say like workmen, definitely looks like people coming in off of a busy shift for their lunch. So they're not dirty per se, but they're in well-worn clothing and nothing particularly fancy overall. There's a handful of folks who come in that don't look like they're coming off the assembly lines as they were. But the open door essentially goes from 10 people to 100 in the span of a few minutes. And a couple moments after that, Karash, you see 2 blue dragonborn enter the establishment, sort of look around the room, see you, and sort of flag you down as they they wave as they enter. Not exactly hard to figure out who might have been asking for them when there's only one other person in the bar.
I put
who
my
looks
hand
like them.
Put my hand on Crash's shoulder and I say, "Don't be nervous." You got this.
Nervous about what?
Yeah, exactly. That's the spirit.
Okay. I'm going to just wave them over to where we're sitting. I don't know either of them, right?
Correct.
Okay.
They're names that you recognize, but certainly no one that you were all that close with back on the Blue Isles. So it's one of those spots where it's like, oh, I know of you, but there is, even on the Blue Isles, while it's relatively tight-knit, there's still some separation between some of the groups there. And this is one of those pairings where it's like, okay, yeah, I know of them, but you don't exactly know them personally. Arvroth is smaller than just about any other blue dragonborn that you know of, which is still, like bigger than Grail was, for example, but by comparison, maybe 5'5" or 5'6", which is very small for dragonborns. She also looks the sturdiest of the three of you. Like, she is ripped, for lack of a better word. You can see that she has taken especially well to the physical labor aspect of this, because despite her smaller stature, she is also built for this stuff. Royak, that's not to say Royak looks like he's slight of frame, but he just kind of looks more like you, which is to say that, normal sized, nothing
bloated.
Yeah. Muffin top. But something about Arvroth just seems like you can see why she latched on to this way of life, because whatever she did back home, this looks like an easy fit for her here. And they approach the three of you at the bar, and Royak says, "Well met, brother."
Well met. Are you the only two here? It's very awkward.
Mm-hmm. He kind of is taken aback for a half second. He says, "Well, yep, it's just the two of us here as far as I know. We've heard about some other folks maybe in other cities near here, but Arvroth's the only other person I've seen working at this particular place."
Who have you heard of in other cities, and where have you heard of them? I am looking for, well, everyone.
I can't say it's anybody in particular. We just know that sometimes you hear about somebody seeing a blue dragonborn passing through in the area, but it's been a few weeks since the last time we heard anything of that nature.
Have you spoken to anyone since the incident? I don't even know what the hell to call it.
Since Bereave's betrayal?
Yeah, I mean, Bereave? Yeah, Bereave? Yeah, Bereave. I'm thinking David.
Yeah, David's betrayal. You guys haven't been
back.
Our
house
down. Yeah, you haven't been back to Sakara Cove. You don't know what kind of shape that house is in.
Just a bunch. It's an opium den now.
He carved this symbol on my house. He'll die for this.
Wait, what?
They say, no, I don't know, I've been here, this is Roy talking, I've been here going on 18 months now, and Arvroth not too long behind me, maybe a couple months after that. We kind of wandered about for a while, but seemed to find a home here. We don't get as many strange looks, and we can work hard and be paid, and I've even gotten a small house in the city. We haven't had a lot of reason to leave since we came here. We like it here.
Where did you go after everyone was taken?
Says, well... Sorry, I got distracted by the snap. Says, well... Some of us were luckier than others. There was a point where some of us were at least able to escape that damn slave ship. And from there, it didn't seem like there was much reason to try and go back home, especially not knowing what had happened right away. So we thought maybe we would try our luck on the mainland. And we thought, big city like this, we would see some folks come through eventually. It's been more rare than I expected, but then again, I don't know how many actually made it off that island in one piece, and how many might even still have gone back in the time since then. But admittedly, I don't spend a lot of time worrying about it. That sounds sad to say, but I'm happy here. My coworkers treat me like I belong. It feels like a new family of sorts.
Do you know the name of the boat that you were on? Have you seen or heard anything of Bereave?
Arvoth kind of chimes in at this point. She says, I don't remember the name of the boats, no. We were bound and gagged for much of that, blindfolded for parts. Meant to be kept isolated, but bereave. She kind of shakes her head at this. You know, she's got that same sort of look of disgust that your mom did, not nearly as intense, but that name sort of dredges up feelings in folks that you're associated with from your clan. She says, I wish we had heard about Bereave. Certainly haven't seen him here, but if I could have some time alone with him.
I understand the feeling. We are many of us who wish to find him and speak to him at length.
Crash, make an insight check.
Oh. Come back. 16.
As you're having this conversation with the two of them, 16. It's difficult to say for certain, but it does feel as though there is something distant about them. That they're engaging you in conversation, and they seem honest. It's not like you don't suspect that they're lying to you about any of this information, but they almost seem to they're looking at you, but they're not looking at you, if that makes sense. There seems to be something either distracting them or, again, difficult to pinpoint. 16 is a decent roll, but not super high. It's just that something seems off, and it's difficult for you to put your finger on why, but there's just this sort of dodginess to it that you don't expect from your other interactions with your clansmen.
Yeah. Is everything well with you?
And the two of them kind of nod. They say, Arvaroth says, I'm not thrilled about what happened on the island, but I've made a new life for myself in Timberbrook, and the city's treated us well. I really liked our time here. I wish we could go back to the way things were before, but it doesn't seem like that can happen.
I do not know if it can happen or not either, but there are some at least that are trying to make a new home for ourselves. I do not remember the name of the islands where they are doing that now, son of a crap.
I think that's the Altar Archipelago.
Yeah, yes. Oh, that's why it's not capitalized on my screen. There are Dragonborn that are there, Mysterian, that have gone back to the Altar Archipelago.
The acapella.
Some islands nearby where we live.
That's fine. Sometimes I'm guilty of making names too long sometimes, like Era Descendants, which I then fucked up last episode once. So it's fine. I understand. Archipelago is not exactly a common word.
It's one of those ones where I'm fine with it, and then I try to do an accent, and it comes after the word altar. It's like, God.
The Alta Archipelago.